Welcome to the Infinite and Beyond, the MIT Alumni Show. I'm your trusted host, Rob Kalwarowsky, MIT Class of 2010, world-renowned executive coach, author, and speaker. Each week, we are sharing the stories with our friends and classmates, fellow MIT alumni who've taken action to shape the world. We'll share what we've learned, top strategies, and bring our community together to help everyone achieve our goals. No, this show is not officially affiliated with MIT, so any views expressed on this show are of the host and guest only. This show is designed to build a community that trusts, connects, and shares with each other so we can all take action towards a better world. Let's get rolling. Welcome to the Infinite and Beyond MIT Alumni Show. Of course, I'm Rob Kalwarowsky, and we have a special guest today, another MIT 2010, the chief economist at Redfin and the author of Hate the Game, Daryl Fairweather is with us today. Daryl, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And of course, we're going to talk about your book, Hate the Game. It's coming out on Friday. Obviously, pre-sales are open, but the full launch is on Friday. Can you give us just a breakdown tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, so Hate the Game, Economic Cheat Codes for Life, Love, and Work is about how to use economics and game theory to get what you want out of your career and life. It was inspired by my own real life experiences climbing the corporate ladder. After graduating from MIT with a degree in economics, I got my PhD in economics from the University of Chicago. I specialized in behavioral economics. I thought I was going to pursue that as an academic career, but instead I pivoted to corporate. But I found that all of the stuff that I learned during my PhD proved to be really useful in terms of navigating my own career, which makes sense, right? Because all of our careers take place in the context of the economy. So understanding economics is very helpful. And that's what I'm trying to impart to people in a entertaining and, plain spoken way.
I love it. And I do use the prisoner's dilemma with my wife all the time.
Oh no, supposed to be cooperating with your wife.
That's right. So, there's a lot here, right? And so you talked a little bit about how you use economics to navigate your career. Can you share some advice for that? Obviously, this show, we're talking to a lot of 2010s. And so now we're in our mid-30s. We've been in our careers for 10 to 15 years. Some of the folks on the show, including myself, we've made career pivots. Give us some advice for that point of our lives.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many things I could start with. One thing that was really useful was understanding the principal agent model. It's this game theory model in economics that explains how employers motivate their employees and how they reward them with things like promotions or raises. So I think understanding that dynamic is really important if you want to get a promotion or a raise at your job. It's not all about how much effort you put in. A lot of the times it's about the signal that you are sending to whoever is awarding the promotion. And you have to make sure that the signal you're sending is the one that they actually are looking for and want to receive and will reward for receiving. So yeah, I go through that in my chapter on promotions and raises, and I think it will help people understand that part. Another thing that I think is really important right now is that, 2010s, we graduated in the middle of a recession. We're entering into another, I would say, fraught economic period, tariffs potentially. They were just announced today, but who knows if they'll be around for how long. But with all the economic uncertainty, just I think knowing where you sit within the greater economy can help you understand if it's time to make a career move from one industry to another. Understanding the growth trajectory of those different industries can really make a big difference in terms of the trajectory of your career.
It's such incredible advice. And what you mentioned, Daryl, about the signal you're sending to the folks with the authority to give you that promotion, or it's something I coach my clients on, even as high-level executives, it's not about how hard you work. And it's kind of something that we learned at MIT is just like work harder and be better. And it's like, no, 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 no. This is not always the way to get ahead.
Yeah, it's about sending the right signals, about identifying what's valuable to the people who are making those decisions, being irreplaceable too. Like if everybody at your job can do the same thing you do, then it doesn't really matter if you are the best at it, because there's somebody who might be cheaper who can do it for almost as good as you. So that doesn't really help you in terms of getting promoted or getting a raise. So yeah, understanding the scarcity of what you provide and if it's the right thing that people are looking for can help you find that correct niche to be in.
Now, you mentioned about during a career pivot, what should we be looking for? Can you elaborate on what are some signals, or even if you have any thoughts on, what industries are going to be big in the next, I mean, we're recording this just for folks out there. We're recording this March of 2025. So that's why when Daryl said something about the tariffs, we don't actually know yet, but probably by the time that this is launched, it happened or didn't happen. But that's just for context. But yeah, Daryl, can you share us a little bit about what you see going ahead?
Well, I think the biggest change that I see happening right now in the economy is with AI, and that is inevitably going to create new opportunities and also make other opportunities not as valuable anymore. I think for a lot of websites, SEO, search engine optimization, has been what they have been going after, and that in particular is changing a lot. Like if your job was just creating content for the internet for people to find your webpage, I think that is going to change significantly. Doing the work, if your job, I mean, you probably know if your job could be done by ChatGPT, but also ChatGPT isn't perfect. It needs somebody to like tell it what is important. And I think going towards careers where being good isn't good enough, you really do need like that expertise or that nuance for a role. Those are the jobs that are going to be more valuable because that's what ChatGPT can't do. It can't come up with new ideas. It can't identify the nuances of something that's never happened before. And one thing about where we are right now in the economy is that a lot of things are happening that have never happened before. So just relying on an algorithm that's backwards looking isn't going to be good enough.
So, along with that, right, of course, economics helps you deal with uncertainty. When we're thinking about how all these things haven't happened before, how should we be navigating as leaders?
Well, I think in moments of uncertainty, there's also opportunity to do things in different ways. I think there's less judgment about trying new things when there's a lot of uncertainty. And there's also like a story to tell about how, you know, your startup or whatever is taking advantage of the current moment. So I think in terms of like breaking from the status quo, when we're in this moment where like no one really knows what's going to be next, it creates an opportunity for people to have a strong vision and to sell their vision as a leader.
Amazing. Now, of course, we got to ask you, since you're the chief economist at Redfin, we got to ask you a little bit about housing. And first is I saw an article yesterday about how a lot of folks feel like it's incredibly hard or not necessarily even worth it to buy a home. What are your expert opinion or thoughts on that?
If you don't currently own a home, you're an aspiring first-time home buyer, I think that there are more and more reasons to rent. Renting has, for a long time, been stigmatized. Part of that has to do with the fact that homeowners are wealthier than renters. Like, if we just do the correlation, homeowners have like all of the wealth in the country and renters have like no wealth on average. So I think that that association with owning a home, with having made it, is so omnipresent and supported even by data that people are reluctant to rent because it feels like, you're in a situation where you can't afford to buy. But if you're comparing two identical homes, say a two-bedroom apartment to a two-bedroom condo, are you going to rent it or are you going to buy it? Right now, given how high mortgage rates are and how high prices are, you're probably better off renting it. The thing is, though, that in this country, because of the way zoning laws work, single family homes are usually only available to own. Like there are some rentals, but they're not really that stable. You might be able to rent it for 1 year, but then the owner decides they want to move back in. It's not really like a long-term solution for people who do want to settle down and lay down roots and want a single family home. So that's where I think if you really do want that single family home, you're probably going to have to buy, and home prices probably aren't going to come down. So you might as well buy sooner than later. Getting in early can help you build equity over time, over a longer period of time. If interest rates come down, you can always refinance. So you don't have to really worry that you're not timing interest rates correctly. But I think for most people, they should consider buying a condo or a duplex or a townhome because single family homes are very expensive and are very rare in the places that have the best job opportunities. In a city like Seattle or Boston, that single family home is really expensive. And I think you should consider multifamily housing. And if you're going to go for multifamily, then renting is probably going to be more affordable this year than buying that home.
Amazing. Daryl, of course, I mean, we're going to pivot a little bit from, getting into your expertise and like a big part of this show is the journey. And I would love you to share your journey since graduation all the way up to today. And then even, you know, the inspiration that led you to writing Hate the Game.
Sure. So after graduating from MIT, I'd done internships at MIT in banking. I interned at Morgan Stanley, but that really just, it wasn't for me. Like the lifestyle was not something that I could tolerate. I didn't like how long the hours were or how like I felt kind of chained to my desk and like with not really that much exciting work to do. So I went to grad school. I felt like I loved economics. I wanted to learn more about it. It just seemed like a natural choice. It was the recession, so there weren't like a ton of great job opportunities to pick from. So grad school was where I went, and I got into the University of Chicago, which was amazing, and got to be advised by my idol, Stephen Levitt, who wrote Freakonomics. He also was an MIT graduate. He got his PhD from MIT and then became a professor at UChicago. So yeah, there at UChicago, I studied under him and learned more about economics. But while I was at UChicago, like in academia, everybody there like only sees their career trajectory within the space of academia. And over time, I felt like I was kind of drinking that Kool-Aid that, the best thing in life is to be a professor. And that's like research is the most important thing in the world. And like how good your research is how good of a person you are. Like it's literally how people think. And it started to kind of seep into my own psyche. But I it just like something was like kind of unsettled in me that just didn't feel right. And the research that I wanted to do wasn't the kind of research that people really rewarded in academia anymore. They were kind of pivoting from the kind of Stephen Levitt style of Freakonomics research to something called structural economics, which is just like more technical and it's just more technical, not the kind of stuff that I was super interested in. So I left academia. I got my PhD, left academia, and went out into the private sector. The first job I got was in consulting because it was like the easy job to get that a lot of PhDs got, but it was, again, not a good fit. It was the same problems I had in investment banking where I was like chained to my desk and doing work that was more intellectually stimulating. I'll give it that, but it still felt like such a grind and the hours were long and the deadlines were hard. And I just didn't even feel valued in that job either. Like I felt like I was giving so much but I still wasn't like meeting expectations in the way that they valued. Like they valued people who had a really fine attention to detail. And I'm
Yeah.
not really like that. I struggle with details. I'm more of a big picture, like conceptual person. So it really wasn't a good fit again. So I left, went to work in tech at Amazon and did well there, got promoted. But Amazon was also challenging. It was very competitive. And then I heard about the Redfin opportunity, applied. I felt like it was a huge reach to go from senior economist at Amazon to chief economist at Redfin, but uh, yeah, they hired me. I think the reason they hired me was just that I was a really I uniquely fitted what they were looking for. They wanted somebody who had experience in tech, who had a PhD in economics from a top school, who was a good communicator, and there just aren't that many people who fit that bill. So it was just like good timing, and kind of being early in terms of the economists that were working in tech. Yeah, so and then in terms of Hate the Game, the book, after a couple of years working at Redfin, part of my job is to interact with journalists and tell the story of what's going on in the housing market. I was writing like op-eds and doing more and more writing. And I always had this idea in the back of my head about like how I've been able to use economics to advance my career. When an editor approached me from the University of Chicago Press asking if I wanted to write a book, I already had that idea ready to go. And it's been really enjoyable. I really liked writing the book. I know a lot of people hate it, but I thought it was fun. It's harder doing the promotion like this, but the writing was great, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So I hope you all order it.
Absolutely, folks out there. So hatethegamebook.com, obviously find it there. And yeah, it's funny. So I I'm writing a book. Actually, it was written, but in the last month or so, I've done a significant rewrite, or we're still doing it, but it's really just like a growth moment for me. But I'm on the inverse of you. The writing part, I literally I have a ghostwriter, and I'm not, what is it? Ashamed to say it, I suppose. but but I am much more like the behind the mic talking person than I am the writer. And I just think like even your journey, Daryl, and this is something that I coach all folks is lean into what you're best at, and the stuff that you're not, or the stuff that you don't like, if you can hire it away, that's what you should do. And right? For me, it's hiring a ghostwriter. Other people, for almost all my entrepreneurs, if you don't have an assistant or a virtual assistant, get one to do stuff for you, like emails, meetings, reach out, whatever that stuff is. Like so much of it takes a lot of time, but it's stuff that's, it sits on you and it's an easy thing to hire away, right? But it's exactly what you mentioned through your career, right? Is consulting. They want a detail oriented. You're a bigger thinker. Now you're in a role that fits you perfectly.
Yeah, I think what like at the time when I felt like I was struggling as a consultant, it was really easy for me to get down on myself and just compare myself to my peers. Like they're doing better than me. This must mean there's something like wrong with me, or like I'm not cut out for this, or I'm never going to make it. But I think like having the conviction, and I think going to MIT probably helped a lot with this, that like, no, I am smart. Like I do know how to do things that other people don't know how to do. And like having that kind of faith in myself just allowed me to leave behind the things that weren't fitting. I think a lot of people try try to try to prove themselves in spaces where like you're never gonna be able to prove yourself. You just need to like go somewhere where people see you, and you don't have to prove yourself all the time.
Yeah, that's something that I learned the hard way, but also that I coach folks, right? And you're not the first person that has been on the show, which is only 2010s at this point, right? Who has said, Phil Kim talked about having that perfectionist, that imposter syndrome. And you kind of mentioned it even in a sense of like shooting for the Redfin job, right? And we it's funny, right? As much as we're very smart and we went to MIT and we're high achievers and we're all these things, we have that part of us that's like, you're not good enough. But you are right, Daryl, is everybody listening to this has, and it doesn't matter like if you're some random person who came on this show, right? But everybody listening to this has special, unique gifts. And it's about finding the opportunities that people and the people you work with or your clients find that valuable. And that's the magic that takes your career to next level.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. In economics, there are differentiated products and undifferentiated products. And I think that anybody who went to MIT is a differentiated product. Like we're all very unique. We have abilities. I think that one thing that's tough about leaving academia is that in academia, it's like really easy to know what is rewarded. Grades are rewarded, publishing is rewarded. But once you get out into the real world, it's a lot more opaque. And I think that, like feeling comfortable with that opaqueness, or feeling comfortable like asking people for more information or getting information about what's valued where is it's more challenging, but it's what makes things a lot easier once you get that information.
Can you tell me more about this? Because this is something that, I mean, I struggled with early in my career. Obviously, now it's different, but it's also something that, like, I think we've learned as children, right? Like elementary school, even in sports, right? It's like you score goals, you win games. Like everything's great. Can you tell or give us some advice on how do we navigate that lack of clarity And even like, you know, this too, right? Is like corporate folks, they get goals, but it's not always about that.
Yeah, so one strategy that I take is when I'm in a corporate environment is just ask questions. Understanding the organization of the structure of an organization, I think is a good place to start, like understanding who owns what and who makes decisions about what. Understanding not just like the criteria that people say is the criteria for promotion, but who actually makes the decisions about who gets promoted, how many people are put up for promotion versus how many people get promoted, like what level in the hierarchy signs off on promotions. All that information can help you understand, like, okay, these are the people that I need to make sure know who I am and know what I'm doing. And I need to make sure that what I'm doing is valuable to those specific people. Like that's usually it, is like kind of creating a network. I took network economics at MIT actually, and I think understanding network economics is useful in this context because, networks similar to a corporate network are vast, but there are nodes that matter more, like the superstar nodes that make all the decisions or know all the people. And once you kind of understand like the landscape of a network, it can be a lot easier to like find your path within it.
Yeah, it's funny. I literally coach clients and it's why I ask everyone, but I coach clients on finding who are those superstar nodes.
Yeah,
And
that's exactly
the
right.
question I always ask folks are who are the 10 people that you need to meet that can help you achieve your goals?
Hmm.
And it's who are those, and those 10 people, they can be within your company, they could be external. It doesn't really matter because your goals, maybe it's not getting promoted, maybe it's getting another job
Hmm.
or launching a business or whatever, right? But those superstar nodes, that's the fuel on the accelerant for your career.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, and I think once you find them, like figuring out what motivates them, what do they value, what are they looking for is the next step, which requires asking questions or maybe some empathy, some like putting yourself in their shoes. But yeah, understanding like what their mindset is, I think is the next step after that.
I love it. We're totally on board together.
Yeah.
So, Daryl, of course, this show is about bringing our community together and giving and sharing within each other. And so, what's the biggest goal that you're working on, and how can the MIT community support you?
Well, I mentioned my book, so you can buy my book and tell your friends. I'm sure you'll like it. I think you'll like it. I think anybody who graduated MIT is gonna get a kick out of it. I do mention MIT. The other thing that I'm passionate about, though, is housing policy. Housing really is the root cause of why the economy is malfunctioning in the way it is. Like housing has gotten so unaffordable. It's a necessity. People need shelter. And the solution to it is basically to reform zoning laws and to update tax law to be more optimal and to promote more housing. So I'm really passionate about this thing called land value tax. I could get into it, but you can look at the Wikipedia article if you're interested. So if anybody, is passionate about those things, let me know. It's an issue that isn't really like something that can be addressed at the federal level. It's more local, state, and municipalities that are making these kinds of changes, but they matter so much for the national economy. And yeah, reach out if that's something that you're interested in working on.
Amazing. So, folks out there, if you know any local or state politicians or
Yeah,
you're,
that's
yeah,
something that could help.
if you're in the game, I've
Or if
dropped
you're interested in running and you want to hear about like how you can make housing policy part of your platform, like I'd love to talk to you about that.
totally. Yes. So Daryl's LinkedIn is in the podcast notes. You can hit her up there. Of course, she'll be at our reunion as well. So you could find her there. But yeah, reach out and connect. And then, of course, we'll support her on her goals. Now, Daryl, the other side, right, is how can you support the MIT community? So give us a little bit about how you can support our folks out there.
Well, I mean, if you see any job openings at Redfin, feel free to reach out and I can put in a reference for you. If you're interested in economics or learning more about economics, I'm always happy to chat. I'm trying to think what else. If you're thinking about writing a book and you want to know what it was like to write a book, I'm happy to chat about that too.
Amazing folks out there. Incredible. So, Daryl, how would you like to impact the world?
I mean, it kind of it's back to the housing policy part. I mean, it's weird because I didn't. I mean, I've been studying housing policy as part of economics for such a long time, but I feel like it's kind of been accidental that I've like been situated in this segment of the economy of what I study, but it is so important. So yeah, if I could just leave the world with slightly better housing policy, more affordable housing, better taxation policy, really, because back to the land value tax, like I think some of our biggest problems go back to the way that we tax property and land. So if I can just change people's minds on that, then I feel like I did a good job.
Well, you're well on your way. And Daryl, can you tell us about your book and where folks can find it? And if you have any special offers out there as part of the launch, tell us more.
Yeah, and I guess like to piggyback off the last question, I would also love if people after reading my book just understand economics better. Like if I can just help people understand the economy in a way that they didn't before, then I trust that they're going to go out and change the world in positive ways that I couldn't have even imagined. So you can learn a little bit more about the economy by buying my book. It's available everywhere books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, bookshop.org. You can get it for pre-order, or if you're listening to this later, you can just walk into a bookstore and grab it. So happy reading.
And that's Hate the Game, folks. You can also find it at hatethegamebook.com. And yes, let's go beyond the standard, what was it, guns and butter
Yeah.
optimization.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, folks, yeah, it's got career tips, it's got housing tips, it's got navigating relationships, it's got a lot of advice jam packed in there. So pick it up. Obviously, reach out to Daryl and talk more about it. And everybody, really appreciate you listening. Daryl, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Looking forward to meeting you in person in May. Everyone out there, thank you so much. And we'll see you all next week.